Hello, my name's Colin from Ep.8 and I'm back in the dimly lit studio, but with the light on this time because it's not Greg, to do another podcast. And on this occasion, I'm with probably one of the most popular members of the club. He's smiling and grimacing. I'm with David. David, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Colin. How are you?
I'm all right. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
The plan of attack is we are going to have a chat about the cars you've owned. And I can't wait to get to the bit where we talk about the cars you've got, because that's absolutely a couple of amazing cars there. But in preparation, it's all in the planning, you sent me a spreadsheet.
Yes.
Ooh, I love a spreadsheet. And it lists all the cars you've owned. And just to get the stats out of the way, 33 cars. In how many years?
That's since pre-driving age.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a story behind that, but
we'll get there.
Yeah, so quite a few at the early days.
Brilliant.
Before we get into that, Colin, I've got to say, what an impressive house. Greg said to me, Dave, you will not believe it when you pull up at Colin's house. So the drive, I thought I was going to run out of petrol coming up the drive, and then
is that because it's steep?
Because it's steep, and because it's about a mile long, and then I was greeted by this massive pile you've got here, and then it was so kind of your house manager to let me in, showed me past the impressive car collection in the basement. I was it's an honour to be here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and wait till to see my London residence, which I've been joking about because I've been doing this big project in London, and I've been joking with everybody. It's actually my London home. It isn't. Thank you for the compliments, of which absolutely not one of them are true.
It's all true.
There we go.
Everyone needs to listen.
I've got a sneaky suspicion this was a Greg. Let's keep the wind up going. Anyway, let's crack on.
Yes.
And again, thank you for the spreadsheet. It's brilliant. There's some very interesting cars on here, and let's see how we go. But let's see how many we get through.
Okay.
But I'm just, without doing any maths, because it's way too late for that sort of thing. But that's 33 cars in not 33 years, or is it? No, you're not that old, or not far off.
Are we almost 30 years?
Yeah.
But let's say 30 years because I did start before I passed my test. So yeah.
Okay. Look, I thought as a good starting point, I might do a few quick fire car questions.
Okay.
Put you on the spot. I'm not going to put the spotlight on because it'll stick my eyes. First things first, right? So, dream car growing up. What was the poster on the wall in the bedroom? Careful, it's got to be car related.
It's actually one of Greg's cars. It was the Ferrari 360 Spider.
Oh, okay.
In Rosso Corsa.
Lovely.
The creme leather, and that was the car.
That's nice. Like it. Next, best car and why?
Best car I've owned?
No, best car of any car. What would be your dream car? That's probably a better way of putting it.
Dream car would be a Ferrari SP3 Daytona, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that as a why. Worst car. Let's go for the worst car owned and why. I've seen the list. There's a few to choose.
Yeah, there is. I'd probably say the XR2i Fiesta.
Oh yes, there was an expletive next to that on the basis children might be listening. I'm not going to read that out loud.
Yeah.
Why was it so bad?
It was just unreliable.
Oh, okay.
Put a new engine in it, and it was just an awful car to own. I couldn't wait to sell it, and it looked great at the time, but it was just useless.
XR2 Alfa Romeo. That's not right. I had an Alfa Romeo. Loved it. 159. I worked out. For the period I owned the car, every 5 weeks it was in the garage with something either getting stuck back on or something fixed. Anyway, it's not about my car, it's about yours. Next supercar and why?
It's quite a bold one, but I would love to get a Ferrari SF90 XX.
Ooh.
I just think they're awesome, and I'm thinking I can't be jumping straight to an SP3, so the XX is the next thing on the wish list.
Okay.
But we'll see. Things do change.
Cool. So when you get that, do come back. Careful coming up the drive. It's not about how long it is. It's quite steep and whatever. Best touring car. If you have to go on a big old road trip, what would be your? Could be one you've already mentioned. Not the worst car, but what would you think would be your car of choice for a long tour, Europe, for example?
I mean, I've done a tour in the Ferrari I've got now, and I've done a tour in the AMG, which I no longer have. But and they were both surprisingly good, even though the Ferrari's got really stiff suspension. But I don't know. I know one of our club members, I'm not going to mention his name, has just bought a Turbo S Cabriolet.
Yes.
And he's bringing it on the trip. You know who you are. And I'm a little bit envious of that. So I think that would be the car for a tour. Yeah.
Okay, very good. I think you're quite well qualified to answer this question as well, which is the subject we're going to go on. Best track car. What would be your ideal? You've got one at the moment.
Right. So this is a long answer. Is if I could have any car for track, it would be a radical race car, which is maybe not a track car. But the problem is, and I was going to buy one. There's lots of track day operators don't let you use them on track now because they're too fast. Because they're a really big aero car and they're incredibly fast, and they're almost a bit dangerous with normal track day users. So there's a lot of people which are fond. So I dialed it back. A lot of people are fond of aerial atoms, and but I have to be different. So that's why I'm with the KTM Crossbow, which I love.
Yes, it's on the list for a chat about that.
Yeah,
it's an amazing car. Brilliant. I think that was it. That's a good start. Some interesting thoughts and ideas and cars there. So look, I think we get into this spreadsheet. Now you told me the car, and then a few little notes on it, but you didn't give much away when it comes to how long you had it. I don't know what colour it was, what engine it had. So we'll pick and choose as we go through. But your very first car, Ford Cortina. Go on, which one?
I don't know what it was.
That long ago.
About 13, 14 years old, and basically I lived out in a place called Ely in the Fens, and a lot of my friends had lived on farms and droves, so there was not much going on there. Growing up, it was very boring. So I remember going to a scrapyard and bought this car for 50 quid, and I remember, all I know is it was brown with a vinyl roof.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
And we got it back to. Don't ask me how we got it back to my friend's farm, but it got back and it wasn't on the trailer. And we used to drive up and down his grandparents' muddy drove and did handbrake turns in it until we bent one of the steel wheels because we handbraked too hard in it one day, and we could never get the wheel off. So that car was.
And that was the end of that one.
Back to the scrapyard.
And the next one, a Ford Capri, lovely. Again, do you remember which mark?
That had a cross-flow engine. Again, it was another drove car. Unfortunately, we kind of ruined it. But I remember going down the drove again and changing gear, and the gear lever used to come out of the drive, and so you had to try and get back in crunch so you could change gear. So
reminds me of an Alfa Romeo I owned once. Anyway, it's not about me again. Now things starting to get interesting with your first car. Goodness me, that's not a bad start. Lancia Delta.
Yeah, that was my first road car, and
wow.
I always have to stop people say it wasn't the HF Integrale.
Okay.
It was a 1.3, their base model car, but it was incredibly fast still. It was an amazing car, and again, I remember I paid £2,000 for it, and I love that car, and it served me well.
Going to ask the question on was it kind of reliable?
It was all right.
All right.
It was all right.
Did what it needed to do.
It did. It really did. And I was one of those sad kids who put a turbo sticker on the back bumper, which I absolutely hate now. Yeah. But no, it was a great car.
Did you have your name on it, like a sun visor thing, and a girlfriend? No.
Yeah, none of that.
Too far. I'm giving my age away now. That was a big thing in the 70s.
That's
although I was a child. Well done.
In the Capri.
And then we had a bit of a spate of minis, project cars, as you've called them. So these bits of minis you put together the form a car.
Yeah, I was telling Greg actually, this is a bit of a funny story. So I wanted to do a project car, and I wanted to put a body kit on the car and put the bucket seats in, some tool, and build a big sound system. That's all it was about when I was younger, and the max power days.
Yeah.
And I bought 3 cars, and I lived in a terraced council house with my mum, and we were one from the end. And one day, my mum, we had nowhere to put anything. So one day, my mum came home from work and found the minis in the garden, and she couldn't believe what happened. I actually took my neighbour's fence down I was a bit naughty back in those days. I'm a bit more civilised. And,
Well, I'm not sure about that, but we'll leave that.
Well, she come home to look through the house to see them in the back garden, and I kind of did fumble together a project car, but it was a bit rough, and it quickly moved on to my first proper car, which I think you said was one of your dream cars.
What's that? Oh yeah, we're going to get to that. Actually, just sticking with the Mini thing. First car I ever wrote off was a Mini.
Really?
Not proud of it. Yeah, not long past my test. It was my mum's car. I don't really want to go there. I might get a bit emotional, but I was racked with guilt for a long time.
Yeah.
But before we get to the car you've just hinted at, there is one in the middle here, which I can't let it go. It says Rover 800 notes given to me, and I made an extra note, and you took it. We won't spend much time talking about this one, but what were you thinking? What's that about then?
My brother gave it to me.
Okay.
And I think I drove it twice, and then I sold it. It was awful. Yeah, that probably does top the chart. It was nasty.
And that basis, moving swiftly on.
Please.
We're now going to talk about was that an iconic car in its day? The Vauxhall Calibra.
Oh yes, that's the one. So 18 years old. I'd had the Lancia for a year, and the Minis was a bit of a thing on the side. And I wanted the Calibra, and I don't know if you remember, they used to do the red top engine, and then they went all eco, and then they went as powerful. So with the 2 litre 16 valve red top engine, and this car had Momo Ferrari wheels on it, and they were huge, and I put a big sound system in it, and it was crazy, and I could barely afford to run the thing.
Well, that's what we did back in the day.
It's all about crazy. I think one of my take-home pay would probably cover one tyre at the end of a month, and they were all on big cambers, so I was wearing through the tyres really quickly.
Yeah.
So it was great fun though.
I had a friend of mine who had one of those. Again, it would be the 80s, and he was a plumber, and he loved it that much. He immigrated to America, and he had a car shipped over. And I'm sure he's still got it. This was a long, long time ago. I think he's a Lamborghini of some sort now, massive petrol head. But he loved that car. Nearest I got was a Vauxhall Astra, which was my first company car when I was a surveyor back in the day.
Yeah.
But great car. It's funny, you look at this list, don't you, and we're going to keep going. You kind of think, we should have kept that one, just for a whole...
Yeah, probably be a bag of rust now, but I would have... I've looked, you can't find them anywhere, but just for keepsake, I would have loved to find one.
Yeah, they're still out there.
Yeah,
and
going back to the Calibra, I think, don't quote me this, but I think that back in the day they were one of the most aerodynamic sports cars on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then I ended up having another one a few years later. I had a V6 version. I can't remember the engine size, but that was a nice car as well.
Yeah. Brilliant. And I'm going to jump a car for no other reason than a Renault 5 GT Turbo.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's probably, if you still have that now, that'd be worth a few quid.
Yeah. That car was crazy quick, but then as soon as you got to about 120 miles an hour, it was gutless. I had it tuned up by a specialist in Cambridge, and inevitably blew the turbo. But that had no ABS and very limited electronics. So I remember overtaking a bus once with all my friends. There was 4 up coming back from Cambridge one day, and I went to overtake this bus, and then it put his indicators on, and I was going rather quick and locking all 4 wheels up and skidding a very long way down the A10, sorry. And but lots of drama. But
yeah. Nice car. What colour was that?
Just white.
Okay.
It was white, yeah.
You don't see them now. No. For the obvious reasons. And then you bought your first Range Rover Classic.
Oh, yeah.
Brackets Gangster. Okay.
I went in and out of, so this phase from where we are now, I think I can't remember how old I was, but I was working full time, and I was driving quite a lot for work, and I always wanted a Range Rover. I'd buy a Range Rover, and I'd realise how much it would cost to run it, and then I'd end up buying a cheaper car. So I'd go from Range Rover to sensible car, and I was back and forth, and I went through pretty much every shape of Range Rover over the years, and I don't know, we've all got a thing for them, haven't we? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I never got. I've had a Discovery which I absolutely loved. I've had that for quite a few years, but I've never stepped into the Range Rover club as such. But yeah, there you go. What we got next? Oh, it's a Mini Metro. I passed my driving test in a Mini Metro, for the record. What you having a bad weekend?
So basically, it was one of those. This is interesting. Just to explain, I was travelling a bit further for work, and it was killing me, and I just had enough. And it was not just a Mini Metro; it was a diesel. It was doing like 70 to the gallon or something back in those days.
Wow!
It was incredible. That was a good car.
Yeah,
it was a good car. Yeah, very exposed in it though. Not much protecting you.
The only thing I remember when I drove one of my driving lessons, big sills. Remember tripping in the car and falling out, which could have given the wrong impression that I was drunk. Anyway, I did pass my driving test first time, but you had these big sills. And then you got another Calibre, a V6.
Yeah, that was...
Wow. LPG.
Yeah, there's a theme here, isn't there? I buy an expensive car, big engine, and then I can't afford to run it.
We turn that into some sort of Excel chart. It would be quite the roller coaster.
It was a roller coaster. And it was a shame because the LPG conversion never quite worked right on it. So
was that already all set up?
No, I put it in.
Okay,
I put it in, and it just it did never. Yeah, don't do it, folks.
Yeah, there you go. Voice of experience. Ooh, and you've got loved this car, a Fiat Coupe Turbo,
20 valve turbo.
20 valve turbo.
Yeah, so that's a 5-cylinder from memory.
Yeah, I like the shape. Was it ahead of its time?
It was way ahead of its time.
Yeah,
they called it a poor man's Ferrari.
Yes,
and I can't remember the colour, but it's like a metallic burgundy, and you've got the colour running around the dashboard.
That's
and
it. Was, I remember.
Pininfarina designed it, and it was unreal. It was so quick, but front-wheel drive. I was at this point. I knew I wanted to be in a rear-wheel drive car, but this was what I could afford, and I think a Subaru Impreza and the Mitsubishi Evo was the car at the time, but that was actually faster, 0 to 60 than those cars, but didn't have the handling.
Yeah.
But it was so cool.
I'm going to make an observation here. We're kind of halfway through the list, give or take, and it's just getting more and more interesting. But I don't see any BMWs in there.
I've never owned a BMW.
Wow. Go on. There's got to be any particular reason why?
No.
Or Audis for that matter.
Is there not an Audi on there?
There might be. I'm maybe not paying attention.
Well, I have had
no Audi.
I've missed it.
We need to see version 2 of the spreadsheet.
Okay.
But anyway, BMW never went there.
Never went there. And ironically, I am eyeing up. I might be buying one soon. I quite fancy getting an M4 Comp convertible.
Okay.
As a daily.
A daily, yeah.
Some deals to be had at. So I've got my eye on that. Nice. Lavan's not too keen on that idea at the moment, but being an Audi person and now Ferrari, but yeah, she's just some people just anti BMW, but I've never had a thing against them. Just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Always like the M3s back in the day.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of 3 Series over the years, which I enjoyed. Right. Oh, a Mazda RX-8.
Like when they were quite new as well.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Thirsty. Was that you or the car?
Thirsty.
The car. Yeah.
12 to the gallon or something.
No.
It was crazy. Even doing like motor, because there was 2 different powers, and obviously I'd have the faster one. But no, it was cool. It was so cool. It was black with a black and red leather with the suicide doors. It made good noise because it revved high, but it just wasn't very economical. And I was dailying this.
Yeah.
So it didn't last long.
Well, at that point in your life, you did you grow up? Did you get a bit mature? Or you got married? I don't know. But you've got a Freelander.
This is
baby car.
That's
when you became a dad.
I've only got the one, and she's 20 now. So there was definitely a drought, probably during from 0 to 15, of being a little bit more sensible.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then we had another Range Rover, blingy, and then you went into a Golf Mark III.
Very
Nice.
sensible. It was boring, but it did the job.
Moved to Ascot, hence bought a Range Rover L322.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was a nice car.
And then a Range Rover Sport.
Range Rover Sport. I've definitely missed some cars off on this list. It's so hard though, isn't it?
It is at the time. It's all right. You can email me an updated version just for my reading pleasure.
Yeah.
And then a Discovery. Nice. And then, Jaguar E-Pace. How was that?
You're good.
Yeah.
That was more for the other half at the time, but yeah, that's a nice, sensible car.
Practical.
Yeah.
Was it reliable, Jaguar?
Yeah. That was good.
Brilliant. Oh, hang on a minute. Now it's starting to get interesting. Ford Mustang GT convertible.
Right, so now we're into the first proper
Here we
car.
go. Yeah.
Here we are. This is...
I like to visualise. Colour.
Grab a blue.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and I had it. It's the first car actually owned from brand new.
Okay.
And
Where did you buy it? Is that was it?
Guildford?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I loved that car. And joined a Mustang club group, and actually some of the Formarks members. I met them before, from that Mustang. It's a big community because they're quite an accessible car.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I put a big Roush exhaust on it and did the stage 1 or stage 2 tune on it. And
how long ago was that? That's
This
because
was-
we're getting down the list, but I think time.
probably 2018.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
because
'cause-
they started bringing them in about 2017. I think it was 2018, 2019 I got that car.
And daft question, because it was right-hand drive. I'm just.
It was right. It was the first right-hand
Oh,
drive.
okay.
Yeah, that's I forget the model they called it, but that's the first time we brought them into the UK on the right side. Yeah.
We got a few members with the Mustangs, haven't we?
Yeah.
In fact, there was one. Yeah, there was two at the weekend at the trip to Meridian. Which
Yeah.
They looked pretty cool. They were already there when I turned up, so I didn't see the owners. They might be new members.
Yeah.
Did you have that one for long? Was that
A couple of years, I think, and then
as a sort of daily, or you were?
no, it was a
No,
weekend
good.
car,
Yeah,
a
makes
weekend
sense.
car, and it was great. I loved it, and then 2020 happened, and I was one of the fortunate people who did relatively well out of that year, and decided to up my game a bit, and then bought the next car. And I was told that one had to go, so
What, the Fiat?
yes.
Oh, am I missing one?
No. So well, that car had to go, so the Mustang had to make space for the AMG, which was then going up again into another league, going from sports car into supercar.
Yeah, gosh, we'll come back to that because that's when you and I want to talk about when you and I first
Yeah, when we
met.
first
But Fiat Abarth Comp.
That was my daily for a bit.
Yeah.
I loved that car.
Yeah.
It sat in gunmetal satin paintwork with a red interior, and I just love racing supercars in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good car.
I did rent one of those, not the performance version, when I was working in Scotland for that to hire a car. It was a bit weird to drive around Scotland sort of thing, but it was fun. It was good. Here we go. Right, AMG GTR. Let's just get the bit of history out with you and I. It was live just about when I joined Formarks Supercar Club, so it was about 5 years ago, something like that.
20. Yeah.
And I think it was on Facebook. I just saw this sort of drivers breakfast club. I don't know if that's the right name, but
No, that's it.
I thought I'll give it a go. And there was a meet on a sort of 6 on a Sunday morning at a service station
Crazy o'clock.
somewhere. And I thought, well, why not? Let's see. And for the record, I never went back. But that's when you and I. So I turned up, and there was a range of different sort of, remind me, BMWs, M3s, sort of Audi
Well,
RS.
the time we
types.
met, there wasn't many cars. I've turned up and there's been 60 cars before.
No.
Yeah, and
Was it about 6, 7, 8?
There was a
maybe?
very small group of us, and the guy who started that club, I'm still good friends with, James, and he's got a crazy RS4. They were big into the B-road bashers, because that's what we did a lot of, and it, I did it in the Mustang, and they're like, "How are you driving that car down these roads?" And so no, it was. I remember meeting you in the dark. In a
That was it, yeah.
So,
So I turned up and thinking, I think I may have misjudged. But that's not that to sound wrong, but they were very different cars to what I was driving.
M2s,
Yeah.
RS4s, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And then I heard this noise in the background, and you turned up in this beautiful green GTR. And I thought, oh, here's my new best friend. Anyway, so you and I met. And then off we went. And, it was a bit quick for me. But I remember when you got...
well.
Sorry?
You did really well.
Yeah. Frightened the life out of myself. But I remember when you got out of the car, I think you had the appropriate footwear on for your track days. I thought, there's a hint, this might be a bit quick. Anyway, it was fun, but I thought, no, not for me. Anyway, but that's when we first met. And I saw your GTR, and of course, it's what's the name of the green they call it? It's
Hell Magna Green.
There you go.
Yeah,
what an incredible car. You had that for quite a while.
Yeah, so I've had it for pretty much 5 years, and
you've only recently got
rid of it the week before Christmas. Wow. Yeah, which is sad.
Well, you got onward and forward. Hey, wait till we get to chat about what you're driving at the moment. But yeah, that's a beautiful car. And the next one, we've got to chat about this one for a while. The KTM Crossbow.
Right.
I was going to say Expo. That wouldn't come out right, wouldn't it?
Didn't we say that?
What's the story behind that then? That's your, as you put it there, track weapon. So you decided, need a track car.
So the Radical was on the list. And then
yes.
And you need to basically have a mechanic or be a mechanic to run a race car. And then I realised that KTM is actually owned by Varg. What it was. I think I've just gone bust. So it's a reliable. It's a Golf GTI engine in there, so you think it's going to be quite reliable. And I want something different. I remember it being quite an iconic car, not many of them about. I saw one for sale, and then I went and saw it, and it was in Rugby. I bought it. The owner of the car at the time had become quite good friends. He's bought another one because he missed it so much. But I wanted a project as well. So the car, when I first came, I think it used to be like a track day experience car, and it wasn't road registered. And then the guy put it off. He road registered the car, but it was quite neglected. It needed a lot of work, and I went through the car and lots of upgrades. It was running about 200 horsepower at the time when I bought it. It's about 800 kilos.
Yeah.
And it's now running just shy of 400 horsepower. New suspension, new forged wheels, new exhaust, all new race suspension, and I've just spent a lot of time replacing bits and pieces on the car.
Do you do any yourself? Are you a bit hands-on?
Well, I've learned how to do some of it myself now, but there's a very good local garage who've been doing my engine work. And so I can do my brake pads, and that's about it now. But,
fair enough.
Yeah,
not something you want to get wrong. But just again for comparison, the aerial atom is that was that an option for you, or
it was an option? But because everyone went mad during this period when I bought the car, and all the cars were going through the roof, they were going for overs, massively for overs. I was looking at them. And Atom 4 is the car to get. And I know there's a guy in the club, a very tall Dutchman, we call the Flying Dutchman. He's very quick in his Atom 4. And so I'm impressed by that. But then they're not an aero car, whereas the KTM is an aero car. Not fully aero, but it has an element of downforce. So it does help.
And is that road legal?
It's road, it's called a road racer. Never had the time until I bought it.
Okay, that's quite apt for you, I think. Yeah, wow. And you still got it? You're going to keep it? Is it a keeper?
It might be going this year.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be going this year. So.
Being sensible about what's next or whatever. Okay, and you've had that a while now, have you? Which have you done quite a bit of work on it? 3
years, I think. Yeah. I've done a lot of track days in it. Wow. Done some road driving in it as well.
In the summer.
Actually, I joined a motorsport club and entered a sprint race. I've only done two at Abingdon Airfield, and I came second in my first ever competition. And then I entered Carnival, which is a big sprint race. And for those who don't know what a sprint race is, you're racing against the clock on a course which is completely set up. No one's ever done it before. You get like one lap to learn what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
And but you don't go fast. And I was late, so I missed the familiarisation lap. And then they did one course in the morning and one course in the evening, and it was a big event, like 80 cars there, and I won my category.
Wow!
So I was very happy. The Crossbow did me proud.
Yeah.
So I got my first motorsports trophy for that.
I just had a flashback. Gosh, was it a few years ago? And I might be getting this completely wrong. Didn't you? Was it on a track? Have a moment, and was Greg with you?
Yeah.
Was it this car? Am I just making something
No,
of it? Is it? And we can move swiftly on.
You know
it.
exactly what car it was. Where it was.
I don't. I honestly don't.
This is when Greg said he had his near-death moment.
That's it.
To be fair,
he's had a few more since. But anyway, remind me.
So we turn up at Shelsley Walsh. It was the first time doing Supercar Fest for Hill, which is the same organisers, not Supercar Fest. The guys who do Steelford. My apologies.
Okay.
They did the hill climb. It was a great event, and so Greg's with me, and there's one corner I walked because I'd never got a chance to practice it, and there was a corner. I was like, if you come off in this corner, you're in deep trouble because you couldn't see over the side.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm telling everyone, be careful on this corner, and then what do? I've got Greg in the car, and I'm pushing a little bit harder, maybe a little bit showing off. And I'm going for it, and then I just lose traction on the last corner, and the back end comes off of the track, and then we go slide. Yeah, I thought we were done for. And the car just stopped on this grass bank, and I'm like, obviously I think there's a video somewhere kicking around.
I'm going to find that video after this podcast. I'm curious to remember.
And Greg, I'm panicking actually at the time. Greg's like, we're all right, because I've had a few incidents in the last few years, and one quite a big one, and I think it kind of, I was like, not again.
Yeah.
And so we won't talk about that, but that was a rather expensive day at Silverstone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For the record, for all the track days you've done, and you've done many, there's just that one example we're talking about.
Yeah.
Generally, you've got all your fingers and toes. And
they're all good.
All good. Brilliant. Look, we're nearly there, but it's some interesting stuff coming up. Tesla Performance 3, Great Daily. Well, I'm not going to get into politics, and let's not even go there. Let's just talk about the car.
It's a great car, and I've not bought it to save the planet. I bought it because I'm being sensible of tax and stuff.
Yeah,
but it is a fantastic car, and all the haters out there, until you've driven one, it is a great car.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I've mentioned it in other podcasts. I had a Polestar for a year. And again, I had a choice, and that was my choice. It was, again, the dual motor top range. It was great, but too quick for a daily. I thought, this is just going to get me into, this is going to get points on my license. And I had it for a year. As much as I enjoyed it, although the hassle of charging it when I was doing longer runs and having to go from one motorway service station to another, I was glad to see the back of it, if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah.
Not for all the wrong reasons, but it was just too quick. I just thought, and of course the worst thing with these things, for those who've got electric cars, but I've got limited experiences, you could be doing 62 mile an hour, and then you look down and think, I'm doing 73. That's completely the wrong numbers, but you know what I mean.
I know.
There's no reference point for speed.
People not losing. Well, actually, no. One of my clients lost his license by just driving quicker than he thinks it is. But the Tesla, you can turn it down, and which is quite good. I never have it turned down, but the great thing is, because I have a few cars, I can dip in and out of it. And if it was my only car, maybe it'd be something else. But it is a fantastic car.
It's like leaving the best to the end of where we are right now. One more car to go on the list. Oh, there's a Defender new shape in there. I presume it says towing, so that's for getting the
race trailer.
Yeah.
That's actually my daily now. It's outside.
Yeah. Is that what you're in?
Yeah.
It's all dark. I'll get the torch. We'll have a look at it later. Right. Last but not least, but it is last. The Ferrari 296 GTB Assetto. I presume that's how you say it. Fiorano.
Mm-hmm.
That is a beautiful, beautiful car. And before it's your turn, I had the privilege last year through the club with a select few. I saw you there because you were on a few days.
We had a quick embrace, didn't we?
It was quite lovely and
it was really nice.
Was it romantical?
It was a teary moment.
It was special. Anyways, that's Greg will get yours. But yes, I drove one of these cars on the track at Maranello, the test track. What an incredible experience! And you get to drive it every day if you choose. Look, tell me about this car. How long have you had it? Let's just go to get the time scale. You've had it?
I've had it almost a year to this weekend or last weekend. Wow. So
and I love the build-up because certainly for cars I've chosen, I've absolutely enjoyed the journey of lots of YouTubing and amount of tire kicking and stuff. Just talk me through why that car, what you
Right.
did.
So actually, it's a full-mark story. So we were invited to Meridian to the launch of the 296.
Yeah, that's the dealer in the New Forest for anybody who's not sure.
Yeah, and actually one of our club members is now working there. I'm
Yeah,
careful
Michael,
because
yeah.
my partner actually works for one of the competition, Maranello. I'm getting in big trouble now. Anyway, yeah, so I went and they pulled the cloth back, and I wasn't sure.
Ooh.
I really wasn't sure. And I remember Jason saying there's something missing. He's leaning in the bonnet. There's something missing because it was a small engine and it's low down.
Yeah.
And do you know, I looked at it and I wasn't sure. And I thought, okay, yeah, not for me. And then saw the figures and oh, this is going to be an expensive car. And you know, I thought my next car, I was really set on having a mid-engine car.
Yeah.
And I really wanted something with Lambo doors or like McLaren doors or something crazy, and something which is noisy as well, really noisy and revs high.
What's the red line on it? 7,000-8,000.
I think it's about 8,000.
Yeah.
Which is really clever because it's obviously a V6 twin turbo for a turbocharged car to rev that high. Yeah. I need to check that, but it revs high and it just it screams and it is good. I mean, it's not a V12, but it still sounds fantastic. Anyway, so I parked that. I had no intention of buying a 296 for months and months and months. That was quite a while, probably a couple of years. Wow. Since seeing the launch and then me actually buying the car, maybe longer, I started being pulled towards Ferrari, and I just thought, you know, all the Ferraris I liked, they're all like they're kind of like there's a name for them, like the TDF, like you know, all the special models, and they're all like starting at 700,000 upwards. And I was like, this is just like not going to happen. But they do it so well. But everything kind of below £500,000 always looks a bit bland to me. Okay. So I thought if I was ever going to buy a Ferrari, it's got to be something. It's got to stand out because I've always had cars that stand out. I like to be different. And I was looking on Auto Trader and I saw this car and I was like, wow. But it was with Dick Lovett, and I wanted to try and buy locally for obvious reasons, and but they had nothing to offer me. So what did I do? I was also tossing up the idea of having a Porsche 992 Turbo S Cabriolet. Okay. Very different car. Very nice. I mentioned it earlier. Yeah. It's kind of it's on the list. And one of my friends has got both cars, and he came with me to test drive it. And on the way, this just came out of the blue. I was like, I'm going to buy a car. I just like something was going on in my life at the moment. I had a good year in the business. I'm going to buy a car.
You need a treat.
I literally made my mind up whilst waiting for my partner in the nail salon. I'm going to buy a car. Okay. And literally, we drove straight there. I started negotiating before I even saw the car. Everyone was trying to put me off because it's the Assetto Fiorano. So that's basically on titanium springs rather than on Magnum suspension. So it's very hard. Not great for dodgy roads. No.
Of which we've got many in this country.
But when it's on a good road or on a track, it's unbelievable. Nice. Yeah. But actually, I drove the car. I loved it. And then my friend said to me, look, you love the Porsche. You can daily the Porsche. But if you want something special, then it needs to be the Ferrari. Anyway, so I bought it on the spot. I picked it up a week later. Wow. And
the colour, talk me through the colour, because obviously there's a bit of history with the design and the colour.
So the colour, I didn't spec the car. It is an ex-demonstrator, but the colour pays homage to a 1960s race car, a 250 GTO, I think. Yes. And I've actually seen the car, and you can see it when you see the picture and you see my car. You can see exactly what I've done. Yeah. This car's just been restored. It's millions and millions and millions of pounds, and every time I see it, I'm like, I love it. So,
to say for anybody listening, if you can, not while you're driving, but hit pause and go and Google the cars because they look incredible, and then come back and listen. But sorry.
So it's actually sorry for everyone. I'm assuming people know what colour. So it's blue and yellow. So it's a Zero Dino, which is the base colour. And then you've got Gallo Modena, I believe, is the yellow.
Okay.
And it looks, I love it.
Yeah.
I love the colour scheme, and they've spec'd it, no expense spared. I mean, the car has got everything on it. It's carbon everywhere. So it's a great spec car. I've skipped a step. So I love watching Carwell videos, and I remember watching a Carwell video where Matt Watson, I think. Yeah, and it was being drag raced against loads of different cars, and it beat everything. It's ridiculously quick. It's actually like supercar money with hypercar performance in my mind. It's so fast because of the hybridization. Yeah. So there I am. Last year was my first full year of having it, and then I get a call from Tony Gibbs at the club for Marks saying they're looking. Carwell have been in touch. They want a 296. Oh. So I jumped at the chance because I've loved the channel, and went up to a secret location which I can't name. It's an active army base, and it was literally the day the Lamborghini Revuelto had come out, and they were racing, and the Pura Sangue. So we had the Pura Sangue, all sorts of cars being drag raced that day, and I saw it all going on. But my race was Pura Sangue 812 GTS, which is the V12, so two V12 Ferraris, both 6 odd litres. Yeah. My car and the SF90.
Good, there's a combination.
Yeah, but they've actually done a drag race with my car and the SF90, which is 1,000 horsepower, and on a rolling start, it will beat it. But on the day, I couldn't do it because.
And that's out there that we can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. So if you go into YouTube, Carwell, and put Ferrari drag race, you'll see the 4 cars. We've almost had 2 million views on this video. Wow! So it was a great day out. And I've always wanted to do something like that. And and then I've driven the car to Gibraltar.
Yes, that was last year.
And
that was all for a good cause, as they say.
All for SAFA, the military charity, and raised quite a few quid for that, which was fantastic. And then obviously this year. Yeah,
well, we've got to the end of the list. Again, quite the roller coaster, if that was a chart and spreadsheet. But that was the next thing I was going to mention is touring plans, and the 4 Marks annual Euro tour, called the 10th anniversary tour. I think it's losing the title for the 10 years the club's been going, isn't it? Yeah. It's going to be an amazing trip.
It will be, and I was on the first ever 4 Marks European trip.
Yeah, you told me about that earlier.
And we had a great time, made some really good friends on that trip, and had lots of good memories. And I've missed a few years, and everyone's been badgering me, and I'm back. So I'm back this year, looking forward to seeing the gang and. Back to Monaco for a party.
Goodness me, I mean, the whole itinerary is just absolutely amazing from start to finish, because we're starting on a racetrack for a photo call, and we ended up with a ball with other members that can attend. Yeah. And we've got a night in the Hotel de Paris in obviously Monte Carlo. Yeah, so it's incredible. I'm going to. Well, I went last year, was my first trip, and that was just. It was about the driving, but it was also about the friendship. I mean, as you know, and anybody who's done any of these sort of trips, it's just the most amazing experience and a life memory. They're just incredible. I'm really looking forward to the trip this year. Any other touring plans for yourself? Anything on the
not at the
horizon?
No, not this year.
That's probably enough to be going on with.
Yeah, I've got enough going. I've put a lot of miles on the car already.
Well, I mean, my view with mine was I bought it to drive it. And when I ended up to my age, I think I'm just going to drive it when I want, where I want, within reason, how I want, to the best of my ability. But that's why we buy these things, isn't it? Other, some maybe not so much. But and any track day opportunities coming
up? Track days. I've got an event with one of our club members who's running a motorsport company.
Yeah.
You remember?
You mentioned that. That'll be fun. That's Silverstone.
And
soon. When is it?
I think that's in March. Yeah,
I was going to say
I'm actually not sure. I need to check.
It's a few diary.
It's a bit blasé, but I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually going to be driving one of their GT4 race cars, or track prepared cars.
I've seen it. It's an incredible bit of kit.
Petro, looking forward to that, mate. And
Box 3 Motorsport.
Box 3 Motorsport. There's
great,
pay me later.
There's a latte and a muffin each for the mention. That'll be fun. March, fingers crossed with the weather. By the way, it could be interesting. Wet track. It'll test you a bit more.
Going to be at Supercar Festival runway this year as well. Just been accepted to do a runway demonstration, which is going to be fun. I've not done that before, so
you'll be fine.
I'm sure I can keep it in a straight line. Nothing else planned this year, but it's still early days.
Things in the diary.
Yeah,
David, we've done your car list justice, I think. Thanks for coming along. Sending a spreadsheet. I do want the updated spreadsheet. You've missed a few.
RS3.
Chat over a beer.
RS3. And that was a fun car. Sorry, I had to mention it. But yeah, how did I miss that list?
Weird, isn't it?
But there you go.
You get in the zone. You get lost in the detail. But I think we're going to call it a day. Look, mate, thanks for coming along. It's been great fun. Really interesting chat about your cars. And I'll see you before, but I'll see you in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, Colin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for hosting me this evening in your wonderful mansion here. And maybe we can have a bit more look at the LaFerrari on the way out.
Yeah, why not? It's a little dinky model, but it's still worth a look. David, thank you again. It's Colin and David signing off, and I'll see you on the next podcast.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks a lot.